you immediately hear there is one official at the Trump administration that is into bimbofication. And here I am like, you sure
Sweetie.
it's only one? Like, I have seen the way that women dress in the Trump administration. Literally, you call Mar-a-Lago face, but what Mar-a-Lago face looks like is bimbofication.
Bimbofication.
Right? Like the White House has literally become a
Oh
bimbofication
my God.
factory
Someone needs to make a bimbofication like meme, but
of
of
the
like,
White House, like women walking into the White House and then women walking out of the White House looking like the
no.
Mar-a-Lago face.
Oh my God. We could just use a progression of Kristi Noem over time and
yeah, just use a progression. No.
Would you like to know more?
Hello, Simone. I'm excited to be here with you today. Today, we are going to be talking about the controversy around Kristi Noem's husband's fetish coming out and the cheating allegations. But the interesting thing about this from my perspective, and there's really a meta story to explore here, is that people don't seem to care, which on the right, on the left, it's like historically a fetish comes out and everybody needs to be performatively saying how gross and how weird it is and how
Oh, they are. They are. Like Brett Cooper was like, ew, I don't want to know. Ha ha ha.
No. I've gone through a few of those, right? But largely speaking, the normal response from most of the commenters is just like blowing it off like it's another day in the park to see something like this. And so I want to explore why that's the case. Like how has society changed? I mean, part of it is kind of obvious, right? Like you go back and you watch like the TV hosts when they found out what furries were, right?
What's a furry convention?
Did I get that wrong?
Oh, gosh.
Okay. Officials were called when I strong odor of chlorines. What? Spread.
I think they had to evacuate the building and everything. Sent the hotel guests along with convention attendees into the cold night, many still dressed in their furry costumes.
We have a lot of costumers out here with big fluffy costumes that'll keep people warm, so at this point, we're not at all worried.
And today, if a host pretended to not know what a furry is, I'd be like,
I'm sorry, but yeah, this is embarrassing.
Everybody knows what a furry is. The only reason you would pretend not to know what a furry is because you're a furry, right? Like, and you're like overplaying your hand on this one.
What?
No, well, I mean, we've sort of entered a world where this stuff is normal on even the right? And I want to go into like what that means. Is that degen societally in a negative way, or does it have positive externalities?
Well, I mean, I'm also going to make an argument though that there is insufficient understanding and willingness to engage with this. Like, well, so what I'm seeing is on the left, people are like, man, like who cares? And I just feel bad for this guy. And on the right, it's mostly like, ew, porn is bad, but like not a big deal. But I also am seeing even within like the relationship, there is clearly a huge amount of misunderstanding. And I think broadly the either like, I don't care, this doesn't matter, or sex negative response or sex positive response, but not actually engaging with what this is and why he was doing it. And there are elements of this, and I'm not kink shaming, but like there are elements of what he did that I would be utterly unforgivable. That I'm like, no, you
yes. No, I agree.
You know what I'm going to say is like,
it reminds me of. I don't remember what I was going to say. All right, continue.
So I think it's also important to shed a little bit of light on bimbofication in general. I want people to kind of understand.
Okay, I remember what I was going to say. Yeah, so this reminds me of when you're talking about like the media not getting it. An instance where that happened recently was when everybody went around and said the attempted Trump assassin was a furry because he had like some furry pornography, but it was because he had a very, very specific fetish of women with masculine bodies, like hyper masculine bodies, that is not easy to find. So it's clear that he was just taking anything from that fetish category he could find. And he like, that's something that like normal degens on the internet would immediately get and understand. But if you're too separated from that, you're like, oh, in furry porn, he must be a furry, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, continue. Or do you want me to
Yeah.
get started with the series of events?
Yeah, go ahead and get started with a series of events, and then I'll throw in stuff that I think is important for people to be aware of. I feel like you've missed it.
Okay, so Kristi Noem, for a long time, there has been rumors that she was cheating on her husband. An administration staffer has said it's an open secret. They fly on a private plane frequently with a bed in the back of it. And when she was questioned about this under oath, she didn't say no. She just went on a long rant about how dare you talk about this sort of thing. And when the husband, basically, I'm trying to point out, like, she definitely was cheating on his husband and everybody knew about it. And when the husband was asked by one of the people he was sexting with and cheating with, he said, oh yeah, but there's nothing I can do about that, right? Like, what am I supposed to do about her cheating on me, basically? My favorite thing about this entire controversy is, by the way, Simone,
Okay.
when it first broke, like when one of the people he was sexting with first realized who he was, which ended up leading to this leaking and going public and everything like that, eventually down the stream, their initial reaction was to chastise him a bunch for putting his wife's career at risk. They were like, do you know how hard your wife worked to get where she is? She is a high profile public figure. You could destroy everything with what you're doing right now.
And this is where I just get, it's so, and this is why I appreciate the New York Times article on this called "In South Dakota, Neighbors Feel Sorry for Kristi Noem's Husband." Because in that, they even include, have you seen the picture of like his little insurance office?
No.
Okay, I'll send it to you on WhatsApp. It's this very like humble, sad little place where he works, and everyone just sees him as super friendly. And it's like a very it's this very specific font that I remember from like MS Word when I was a kid, so that reads "old-fashioned service, easy as pie, Gnome Insurance."
Oh
And
my
it's just
gosh.
this really sad-looking cinder block brick building. You know, here he is. And by the way, like the photos that were leaked, the earliest timestamp is to the beginning of 2025, just as Trump's second administration begins, and she disappears off to Washington, like, you know, jet setting and flying and fundraising and living this glamorous life. And here he is in this depressing,
stinky insurance,
stinky
and she's,
insurance
by the
building
way, cheating on him
with Corey Lewandowski. Yeah, with his top aide. Though she had been doing that probably since at least 2020, because there are stories going back until then that are like pretty flagrant. Like in August of 2020, even Republican Attorneys General Association meeting, there was a former oh my God, wait, hold on. Former Trump operative Charles Johnson, named source. Ring a bell, Malcolm?
Wait, do we know him?
He's the guy who also is famous for being the one who told the FBI that Epstein was
that guy? He was a crazy guy.
Operative. But yeah, so Charles.
This requires explanation for fans as well. So we know a guy who clearly had mental health issues. He accused me of being a Mossad operative, said it was very obvious that
he was at our party. Did he just?
Yeah. And I was like, I guarantee you I am not a Mossad operative.
Oh no, but then also another friend who is a journalist was there, and she was like, yeah, he thinks that I'm a spy, but he also leaks to me all the time.
Yeah, so he constantly leaks to journalists. He constantly leaks to the FBI, but half of the time it's something completely made up and fabricated. Not half the time, 90% of the time. And in the Epstein files, he's actually cited as the core source for Epstein working for Mossad.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, if Epstein is the Mossad operative,
to understand what I mean when I say this, we hold parties that like have high profile people, high profile journalists come. So a lot of them are like name figures he would know. He like literally had accused at least 25% of the people at our party, including his like longtime friends, of being spies for one of, in his world, it's like
Everyone's
Israel
fine.
and China and like the CIA and like everybody's working for one of them, or in
Kind of how
Russia.
like it would be so vibrant and rich to occupy Candace Owens' reality. It would be very vibrant and fun to occupy Charles Johnson's reality, who's I think
He's in jail right now, or he got
either
arrested.
he got out or like recently got out. But yeah, I mean he like served a lot of time in solitary because he was being, I think, singled out or something. There's got to be more of a story there. Maybe someday we need to do an episode on him because what a character. I love characters. But anyway, so but he and two other attendees at this 2020 Republican Attorneys General Association conference reported seeing Noem discreetly take Lewandowski's hand and place it in her lap while he put his arm around her back. And other sources described obvious affection at Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort in 2020. Multiple sources, at least 3 who were cited, witnessed Noem sitting on his lap and playing grab ass. One described it as, quote, the usual stuff that drunk people who are having affairs do. In 2021, in CPAC at the Hyatt Regency in Orlando, at least one source, with others implied, saw him making out and getting handsy at the hotel bar in full view of 100 to 200 political operatives, journalists, and officials. The source called it, quote, absurdly blatant and public. In 2025, there was this, and I'm sure you heard about this, there was this reported incident in which Lewandowski allegedly confronted and then fired a pilot midair over missing a heated blanket that belonged to Noem. Like you might have heard it like that he lost her favorite blanket and then he was fired, but then they had to like hire him again because they needed to finish their flight. So he was rehired. I don't know what ultimately happened to him, but this was later described by some outlets as a cover story involving a bag with potentially embarrassing items, but still it was, her blanket. And then in, like you said, Bryon himself allegedly told that one of the women he was engaging with about his wife having an affair, and there was nothing that he could do. But one thing just went right away, like it's clear that this couple had really severe mismatch because
they weren't really in a marriage anymore in any sort of a
Yeah.
functional context.
Well, and she also clearly didn't understand him. So she just thought, I think she thought he was gay. This political commentator named Ryan James Gadursky told the It's a Numbers Game podcast in August of 2025, so quite a while ago, that there was some DC gossip that a top cabinet official, rumored to be Noem, was casually admitting that her husband was gay. Quote, a reporter walked up to her and said, why are you having an affair? Why haven't you met up with your husband? Why aren't you divorcing your husband? Gadursky said. And she blurted out to this reporter, who I know, and said, oh, my husband's gay. So...
Well, okay, so put yourself in her shoes. If you caught him like
with boobs,
putting fake breasts on and inflating them, and you're a traditional Republican woman, you would probably assume he's gay, right? Like that's the normie take when you see something like that, right?
Oh, speaking of normie takes, I take exception to all these people in the news who are like, it looks like he put balloons in his shirt. You know what those look like? They look like the prosthetics that were worn by that school teacher in Canada.
Yes.
And they're like, oh, they're balloons. I think they're saying that because they look lopsided, but that's because he is a man who's not experienced with arranging breasts under a shirt that's tight. Okay. You get like,
I should, like, the thing that gets me as well, and I think one of the reasons why this hasn't turned into like a bigger scandal is like you immediately hear there is one official at the Trump administration that is into bimbofication. And here I am like, you
Sweetie.
Sure it's only one? Like, I have seen the way that women dress in the Trump administration.
That's the thing too. Also, like when we were at the White House, there was like just a random woman checking in. Like
they all look like
you were like,
these
is
women
that
at the White House.
Kristi Noem? Is that
White House?
No, she just has Mar-a-Lago face. Stop it.
Literally, you call Mar-a-Lago face but what Mar-a-Lago face looks like is bimbofication. Right? Like the White House has literally become a bimbofication.
Oh my
factory.
God. Someone needs to make a bimbofication like meme, but
of the White House, like women walking into the White House and then women walking out of the White House looking like the Mar-a-Lago face.
Oh my God. Yes. Like actually though, that is actually really meta and funny. We should explain what bimbofication is. So bimbofication 101. First, just let's do some etymology because I freaking like it. The word has been around since the 1920s to refer to an attractive but dumb woman, just in case, we have some English as a second language learners here. Before that, it was actually used to refer to a foolish or inconsequential man. Did you know that? So before the 1920s, bimbo was a word that was basically man-child.
Oh yeah, I've heard it used to describe men before.
Oh, really? Well, it comes from the Italian word bambino, obviously for baby or child. But you know what's really funny is you've been to Mexico, right? No?
Yeah, of course I've been to Mexico.
Oh yeah, we know we've been to Mexico together. You've seen bimbo bread everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And every time you see it, aren't you do they know? Why is it called bimbo? And so I actually had to look it up because I don't know. I needed to know.
Well, hold on. We in the US have a car company called Nova.
Yeah.
For people who don't know, that means no go.
Yes, but I mean, I think people who speak Spanish are more likely to be familiar with the word bimbo in Italian, maybe. I don't know, kind of. They're similar languages. But they apparently tried to argue that the name was created by the founders in Mexico in the 1940s, 20 years after bimbo was commonly understood to be, referring to busty dumb women.
Yeah.
And they tried to after explain that the word was a blend of the word bingo and Disney's Bambi. That is no. These men,
it came from something else.
Were sitting in a boardroom and they were talking names, and the other names that they had were Pan Rex, Pan Azteca, and then they were like, "What about bimbo?" And I bet they're sitting in this room and they're like, but actually, and they did it, and it stuck, and I think that's what happened. But anyway, I digress. So bimbofication is a fetish and subculture that's centered on the erotic and performative transformation of a person of any gender. It goes both ways. And Malcolm, I can send you some just images of bimbofication of both men and women that sort of turns any person into an exaggerated hyper feminine bimbo archetype. And it typically involves adopting traits like massive breasts or plump lips or heavy makeup or blonde hair or skimpy clothing or ditzy or submissive personality and heightened sexuality. Mm-hmm. You just turn them into I'm a very sexy baby. And it emerged in the 1990s and early 2000s. And it grew out of related kinks like breast expansion, body modification, erotic hypnosis, and sissification.
It's in the category of kinks because it's sort of a few kinks layered on top of each other.
Yeah.
Any clear? So obviously you have transformation kinks, which is a fairly common kink, and other categories of that. There's actually one that's just the reverse of bimbofication.
Yeah.
The woman getting smarter and nerdier.
Actually, I went through the Google Trends, and the top related searches include bimbofication meme. And this is just, I'll share some images with you of just a woman who's like me, flat chested, pale, hair in a bun. And then it goes from that to dumber and sluttier, and then hotter, and then bimbo at the end. And then so bimbofication meme, DeviantArt, Reddit, AO3. This is all just to say that this is for erotic.
No, hold on. I'm not done here yet. I wanted to go over
Sorry, go on.
A combination, it's a layered fetish. So it's a combination of the transformation fetish, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which I said often happen. You get reverse bimbofication, but you can get it for other archetypes, like being a tomboy or something like that. Mm-hmm. And it's also fairly common to do it with animals or furries or something. People do it. And the core draws of that particular people are what would draw somebody to a fetish like this? What arousal pathway misfiring?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, for people who are watching this and confused, why I'm going into detail on this, we wrote a book on human sexuality and arousal patterns.
The Pragmatist Guide to Sexuality. You should check it out, but not if you pedestalize sex, because we get really
yeah, we're
we take the romance out of sex, because that's what we do.
Anyway, but the thing that seems to be misfiring here is the idea of either a control pathway, I have control over the person who is transforming, or they have lost control or autonomy.
I have lost control, because that's what
I have lost control or autonomy.
And play with women, they would they would force him to become more bimbofied.
Yes,
So
and they give him commands. And it's
yeah.
clear for him what he was most interested in was the idea of himself losing autonomy, right?
Yeah,
Like
like
that
he would
was
compliment them and their bodies and talk about how he wanted really big boobs and stuff like that. And this is where the stress relief comes in. This is where the escapism comes in. And like honestly, going back to like his scenario, right? Wife is basically estranged, cheating on him, putting him to shame. He's walking, like not walking, driving every morning to this cinder block insurance office with depressing font on the sign out front. Like, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, he
looking
wants
for some way to
escapism.
pass the time. And
Well,
I
wouldn't I mean, and wouldn't he want to be the bimbo flying around the world with Mar-a-Lago face? Like, kind of, right? Like, who's having all the
well,
fun
it's
in
also
this
interesting
family?
that she had actually met many of the qualifications for his bimbofication fetish, right? Like she had done the transformation. She kind of dressed like a bimbo. She had
Yeah, she
gotten
was dressed
breast implants. It,
and lip
it,
filler. Yeah,
Yeah, which he liked to see in women as well. It wasn't just something that he liked to do on himself. He liked
yeah.
this transformation into a particular archetype.
It could have been so close, right? Like she could have just threaded the loop, and instead she just thought he was gay.
Well, I mean, poor communication, I suppose.
Well, that's why we're talking about it, right? Is like it's really sad that people are like, ugh,
Well,
like
a lot of people are like, "Oh,
really
she knew," and I
clearly
actually
she
question
didn't.
that. If she thought that
Yeah.
he was gay, it might be that she knew because she said, "I had no idea. This is devastating for the family." And I actually think, given the timeline that we have, that it's probably something he didn't get into until after she was basically estranged and cheating on him constantly.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
seems to be what we can tell
The
from the timeline.
timeline indicates that I mean, it's only shown to have been happening at the beginning of the Trump administration, like when he was sworn in, basically, beginning of 2025.
Yeah,
So yeah, like I really think that's kind of when it took off. It didn't have to be this way.
but continue.
What's interesting is that bimbofication, I think one of the reasons why it's so poorly understood is that one, it's relatively new. Like as you said, it's really related to a bunch of other things. And so it really wasn't its own standalone thing until the 2010s. According to Zipper magazine, this is when it became like an established tag on like DeviantArt, and it didn't even really have more established like lore or character based frameworks until 2016. And then platforms like Clips for Sale added dedicated categories for things like bimbofication. So it kind of had to be made into its own genre. And what I think is really interesting too, and again, why people really don't get this, is it is quite obscure. So when I looked on Google Trends in terms of search volume and that term, along with other terms that are really only going to be used by people looking up like kinks or fetishes, because you can't, for example, like look at transformation and know that everyone who's Googling transformation is looking at it in a sexual context, right? Like it means like it's a very mainstream term. And that's
Yeah.
unfortunately the problem with a lot of things. So to compare kinks is kind of tough. But it is clustered in the same level of search volume as sissification, which is I think pretty kind of similar. It's like there's a lot of submission in that. There's a lot of escapism in
Well,
sissy
hold on.
hypnosis.
Sissification has gotten really big these days.
I know, except that they're pretty close. Do you want to see the I'll send you the
Right, so that would mean it's not a particularly obscure term.
No, okay, no, because here's what's really crazy. All right. It is vor is bigger than both
Of
sissification.
course it is. Sorry, your
I thought vor is
understanding
really obscure.
vor is not obscure. When we did our book on sexuality and
Oh
we
yeah,
were
a lot
doing
of
a
people are into it.
calculation of what percent of the American population is into vor specifically, I pointed out it's literally a population bigger than the fourth biggest state in the country, right? If I remember correctly off the top of my head, it's around 3% for both men and women, which puts it at the same rate as maybe like half same-sex attraction. If you're wondering why, like what might be arousing this system, and people are like, oh, that's such a weird thing to cause arousal. Not really. You're looking at extreme submission / dominance fantasies here, because it's not, I suppose I should explain. The hunting somebody, killing somebody, eating somebody, that's the general idea, or having that happen to you of the vor paraphilia. That is I think a pretty classic example for a brain to misinterpret as extreme dominance or submission fantasies. As to why dominance and submission activates arousal pathways, if you look at other mammals, they will instinctively present themselves to people who they see as their social betters, basically like lifting themselves as if they're about to be mounted. What motivates this behavior, right? Like, do we believe that an entirely parallel system for motivating this behavior evolved and motivated it? Or do we think that evolution just hijacked the arousal system when somebody feels submissive or dominance within certain social tongue? It's very clear it's a hijacked arousal system. It would make no sense to evolve an entirely parallel pathway to cause this. So intense arousal from submission and dominance is a normal thing, and misinterpreting submission and dominance is even the Bimbofication seems to be a misinterpretation of that within this context.
People still act like it's the weirdest thing in the world.
But how weird people pretend that they think a thing is not really correlatory to how weird they actually think a thing is. Conservative influencers regularly dunk on the furry community and say nobody could think an anthro person is hot, and then collectively freaked out when they made Lola Bunny less overtly sexualized. I think this really exemplifies a drift and a change that we've begun to see within the two political parties over time, is that the Progressive Party has become the party that is more likely to laugh at you for being weird or different, or, the two political commentators on the furry thing. And the Conservative Party is increasingly becoming the party that's like, yeah, like, whatever, do whatever you want, I don't care, just do not involve children, all right? And then the Progressive Party is like, hey, I will laugh at these people for being weird, but by God, children must be indoctrinated into it. And I think it's been this sort of vibe shift where the conservatives who are not okay with this stuff are the ones who are increasingly joining the groypers who are increasingly voting left-wing. And I mean, we see this, right? They always say, oh, I'm voting left-wing now, I'm voting left-wing, I'm voting Democrat now. Like, they're being pushed out of the party. And we'll have another episode on this, because people act like there's a war within the Conservative Party, and there really isn't a war within the Conservative Party. Like for example, over the Iran wars, 90% of MAGA is pro-Iran war, right? Like, it's not an even divide. It's the ones who instinctively identify more with this progressive, purifying push that everybody needs to be like this, everybody needs to act like this. And when you go to a groyper and you point out that, well, they're just a generic progressive like any other progressive, and they're like, no, I just vote progressive. We're actually quite different on our side. Like, some of us are groypers, and some of us are Islamists, and some of us are pro-LGBT, and they didn't care about the difference between LGBT and Islamists, so they're not going to care about the difference between LGBT and groyper, right? So it's a party that already works naturally together. We just shouldn't confuse them as being ever on our side. The high school bullies went to the progressives. The ones who were otherwise cool but like okay with people being different have largely moved to the conservatives, and this has been the drift we've seen over the past 10 years.
Also, I don't know, teratophilia, attraction to monsters, ification and bimbofication are in the same, we'll say, bracket of volume as that.
Yeah, and you can tell teratophilia is a really common fetish.
I guess you're right.
Basically, what you're just learning is it's a fairly mainstream fetish.
Well, but it's dwarfed by, for example, cross-dressing and hentai. So, I mean,
hentai isn't a fetish. It's literally just the name for porn.
I know, it's just, but no, here's the, you don't understand, Malcolm, to so many people, because I listen to, I guess, more leftist normie content, which I would argue is both sex positive, but also normie. They're like, hentai, what's that? Like, you don't you're so degen, you're so like steeped in it all that you're like, well, obviously, like, that's the most vanilla thing you could possibly be looking at. And like, for other people, they like,
is the thing, it's
dip their toes in it and like they lose their minds.
this is stuff you would know just if you're looking at like hentai sites or something like that. If you watch just random YouTubers, this stuff comes up in conversations all the time now. This stuff comes up in songs now, right? Like the normalization of like paraphilias and stuff like that within media content has really transformed over the last decade, I'd say. So I can be watching something like what's this, the guy who reviews cartoons. I can't remember what his name is. Very common YouTuber, and just randomly stuff like this drops. You can even watch many like conservative streaming tubers. The reason why so many conservative streaming tuners are so familiar with this stuff is many of the ones who have sort of authentic backstories got their start in environments like 4chan, which means they're going to be very aware of all of these like weird subcultures and stuff like this. Bimbofication is particularly interesting as like a paraphilia because it is largely associated with one specific image. Like there's like one classic bimbofication image that is just like used really,
the
really
progression.
frequently.
Yeah, I sent you what I think that example is on WhatsApp.
Yeah, you probably, yeah, it's the classic one. So much is like almost meme status, right?
Yeah.
I think because maybe
Well, when people Google it, they're literally Googling bimbofication meme.
Yeah, it's like a actual like mainstream meme. You can't use it on title cards, by the way. I remember we had it for like a previous title card. I was going to use it, and the video got auto flagged. So it's seen as like actual pornography. That one image that has nothing.
Maybe we could just use a progression of Kristi Noem over time and.
Yeah, just use a progression. No, what's actually interesting about that particular memeified image is that the person she turns into, if you look at it, right, looks, especially I'd say at her second to last stage, way closer to standard Trump administration woman than she looks to any archetype that I was aware of at that time.
Well, and what's even actually funny is one of the bimbofication scene women that is to say Bryon Noem engaged with, who's been talking with the media, goes by Lydia Love. And if you compare her to Trump administration officials, she looks less bimbo-y. Look at her. Look at her.
Okay.
I sent you a link on WhatsApp. She just looks like a normal woman at like I'd see at a grocery store. I mean, she's busty, but like,
yeah, she just looks like a normal, well, a little chubby.
Well, yeah, normal woman at a grocery store. The average American woman is overweight.
She looks way less like a bimbo than.
I know. That's what's so funny. Anyway.
But also, by the way,
tone it down.
For people wondering, like, diversity of arousal patterns here and stuff like this, to me, this chart, like if you look at most bimbofication charts, it's like a chart of a woman becoming progressively less attractive. Like
we can tell this is not your thing.
Not my thing at all. Like, because my brain codes it like intrinsically very easily as like a low class. And I don't want to sleep with somebody who I think is low class. Like, to me, my body sort of, it's like they've been rolling around in trash all day or something. Like,
maybe this is, I mean, you got this from your mother, who like her sexual orientation was money. you can't.
No, well, it's that I see it as a form of weakness and patheticness. Yeah. And we actually talk about this with like in sort of the ancestral backwoods tradition. It was weird that they didn't ever grape captives, given how they were seen as being
and maybe this was part of it, just like you're too poor.
Your village died. Of course I don't want to sleep with you. Like
your loser nature might rub off on me.
Yeah.
Okay. But like okay. But ouch. But okay.
No,
also not ouch, because I guess it's good that they're not getting attacked.
The other interesting thing about bimbofication as like a transformation fetish is what you would think of as a subcategory fetish, the forced transformation into furries, is much more common than bimbofication porn. which is
wait. People are more interested in being transformed into an animal than into a bimbo.
yes, which is
It's interesting. Why? I guess Animorphs, that's how people discovered their fetish.
if you're gonna
Remember
ask,
the Animorph book covers were basically that. Don't you remember? Come on.
if you're gonna ask why it's more common, I have hypotheses.
Okay, why?
One is it could be because the furry community acts as an on-ramp for this, so that it's just hitting a wider audience, like anyone who's into furries, like the furry community may be into it, right? So you're already getting a baked-in community, not just people with this one paraphilia. The second could be if the core turn on for you is something happening to a person's body without their control and sort of their horror at that, the horror of that, like the oh my god, I can't believe this is happening, is going to be higher and more dehumanizing with a furry thing than with bimbos.
I wonder if anyone has watched that transformation in Beauty of the Beast into the prince, just in reverse, and been like, yes.
Well, people talk about the like precursors of this being really common in cartoons of our childhood.
Oh, totally. Well, and like I said, Animorphs. You remember the book series?
Like,
it was about kids who turned into animals.
Yeah, I do. I've never read it myself, but I remember
haven't either.
Being a thing.
Again, that's not our
really,
fetish.
Like deep lore or something. Like I should check out the lore of Animorphs.
The lore of Animorphs. There's got to be some explanation. Maybe just that. Also, that what was that one where like a woman turned into like Quicksilver? You know, she turned silver and like melted. Is that like the original like goo girl fetish or something? I don't know. Who knows? Who knows?
Turned into still. Oh, the Capri Sun one. Yeah.
Coming at you, Capri Sun by the pitcher. So whenever you want, you can make as much as you want. All natural Capri Sun drink mix.
No, actually, what?
I love the 90s.
That was cool. Actually, the funny thing about like the whole goo girl fetish thing, it is not really seen outside of vor. Like that's the like they always appear together. You don't see it separate from that very frequently.
I'm a slime and I bore all the rest of things, which I'll even bore you and you and you and you. 'Cause I played every barbell release. I make all of the rules. It's true, I'm a slime on the move.
Which then makes me be like,
weird.
I would be susser about Leaflet's avatar then if I didn't know where she got the avatar from. For people who don't know where she got the slime girl avatar from, it was from because we talk about it in the episode where we're talking with her recently. Really fun episode to film. It was the child of two of her game like players. I love it how
she's half fae too.
Deeply and like almost pathologically, as a GM of this world that she's created, tries to make herself like the least empowered individual, right? Like
because it was like the receptionist for the guild.
Yeah, she's the receptionist from the guild. She's just playing the avatar of a child of two of her party members, right? Like
I didn't even acknowledge that she put glasses on to join us.
Oh, she did? Oh, we missed that. That's cute.
That was a great little hat tip there. Well, or a nod at the glasses. A little glasses. An anime glasses adjustment. Well. Anyway, where were we? Hold on. But so I kind of get it. Like, obviously, this isn't our thing, but definitely, like, for me, this, like, the idea of, like, surrender and letting go. I mean, that's why I love being drunk, right? Is that like that's when like all of my hangups, because like I'm always like at full clench, you know?
Yeah.
And like the idea of not being at full clench sounds fantastic. So like maybe that would be, you know, a fantasy. I can understand that. And I can, especially for someone like Bryon Noem, who like, can you imagine the media scrutiny? Just like, oh, like, and being made a fool of by this like open secret for at that point 5 years. You know, your wife gallivanting around, like, yeah, you know,
thinks you're gay.
But who thinks? But here's where he crossed the line, and where I see it as unforgivable. Do you know how much money he paid to these
Oh,
women.
he was paying a lot from what I remember. Yeah.
$25,000. $25,000.
You could just have an AI tell you these things. Like,
I know. And this is why I'm like, you know what? You guys don't want to talk about your kinks and fetishes. This is what happens when you don't talk about your kinks and fetishes. She could have taken care of this so easily. She could have kept him satisfied and had her affair. Everyone could have been happy, probably, kind of. I don't know. I think this was like, because he even told some of these women like that he didn't really want to do this, and like he loved his wife and family, but like, you know, and he would sometimes stop and then start again. Like this was a fraught
yeah,
thing
he was known for going through a cycle of stopping and starting again.
Yeah, like this is, but like even like there are other ways he could have, if he had to, exercise this without wasting that much money. And like our internal rule with stuff like this is like, I don't care what you do
as long as you
as
don't
long as
waste
it's
money.
your discretionary income.
Oh,
and like
yeah,
the way that our budget works, or like
you
our
don't know
money
this
works,
wasn't his discretionary income.
well, yeah, I mean, maybe it was. And if it was, then I'm okay with it. I'm a little like, I judge him for like,
Yeah, I
is that
judge
how you
you
want to spend your money? Like, there are better ways
Dude,
to spend it.
I don't judge you for the fetish. I judge you for being that wasteful. Like
That's, yeah, that is there, that like there, even if he wanted to like max, like he had $25,000 and he's like, I want to blow this on Bimbofication. Sir, I could have taken you like for like, we could work out a whole budget for this. You're going to max this out. We're going to get you the best prosthetics. We're going to get you the best like role play. What are you doing? You know, like there are better ways that are more
this
cost
is what
effective.
Reality Fabricator is partially for,
I
right?
know.
Fans
Yes.
who are watching this, just stop paying the random
If
person.
you're a
who's
high profile public,
you can build your whatever bot
and
you
it's
want.
locally encrypted. No one will find it. No one will leak it. It will save you so much money.
Local encryption on our roleplay.
Yeah.
You know, what even? I
Yeah,
think we
we-
actually even have a bimbofication option in the auto story creator in the not safe for work category.
Do you?
I went to double check this, and on rfab.ai, not only do we have a bimbofication as one of the options there, but we have the masculinization and the feminization of a character. So we got the whole menu on this one.
Because again, like it's more obscure, relatively speaking, and new. I didn't realize how new it was when I like actually went through and looked at it. I thought that was interesting. But another thing, just to get detail from all the, you know, gossip and stuff.
Well, the reason why it's so new is because I don't think it's a real kink in and of itself.
No, it's honestly, it's like such a one note thing of like, that's just such a small facet.
It's meant to, as I was trying to delineate earlier, it's meant to elicit specific unusual arousal pathways tied to control over another person or losing control.
Control, yeah, losing control,
that's
control,
the fetish.
Transformation is another like big one.
Transformation is the fetish on display here.
No, but also big boobs. Big boobs is a huge thing.
Also big boobs was another fetish he has, which is called, which I find quite disgusting, if I'm going to be honest. I am not a fan of big boobs.
But like also like, and that's the really interesting thing about sexual interest as well, is that there's so many crossovers that like, because sometimes you'll see like there's content that's just about really busty, like large, impossibly busty women, and there are all sorts of different ways that that's shown. And then like there's a lot that's about transformation, there's a lot about losing control, and there are all these different facets and ways that it's manifested. And I think the best way to look at that is visualizations made of Ayla's big kink survey, because you can really see like where these things cross over, where they're more common, what's more interesting to many women. Anyway, what of the specific things that he engaged in. So there were at least 3 women that he paid and interacted with. What seems to happen is like he'd send photos, they would send photos, but then like during live sessions, they would role play and he'd be like, oh, you look great, whatever. Like, I wish I had boobs like that. And then he'd like, well, do you want to see it? And then like, they would like force him to transform into a bimbo. And he'd like probably wear the prosthetics and take pictures, and that's how we ended up with that leaked picture. But
he wasn't even like using protection, like a fake phone number, or like
he used a fake name. But yeah, the problem is that he used his actual phone number, and then when one of the women called that phone number, they got his insurance company line, which is, don't use your work email and phone for your fun stuff. Don't do that. PSA, wee woo, wee woo. But and I just want to like point this out. his bimbo clothing was yoga pants. And this is just another PSA to anyone who thinks it's acceptable to go out wearing yoga pants. That is bimbo clothing. It is now official and documented in the public record. People with bimbo fetishes, when they want to look like the bimboest bimbo and they're buying boobs that are this big, that are lopsided in their tight shirts, and they're wearing tube tops, they're wearing yoga pants, because that's bimbo clothing. So stop.
Stop. Do you have a vendetta against leggings?
I do, because it's gross. Like,
No,
unless
actually, the funny thing is people could see me as like, if I'm making it clear that like I think the bimbo look is unattractive and I like the opposite of that look, now people are going to be like, oh look, he did that to his wife. Like, what's the opposite?
you reverse bimbofied me.
The most opposite of a bimbo you could get is like this Puritan woman and like the big over the top thing and all that.
Yeah, the farmer's wife in American Gothic is like the exact reverse. Yes.
So yes, I did reverse
Whistler's
bimbofication on
mother.
my wife. It was so funny going into the Trump administration because all of the other women looked like completely slutted up, and meanwhile, my wife looks like an Amish. I think most people think that we're Mennonites when we're out in public.
Yeah, people have come up to me and asked me. They're like, "Oh, what is your religion?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm a techno Puritan," and then they like slowly back away. It's amazing. It is actually. I need that hat though. So.
The hat? Oh, please, come on. We got to get you the hat. The witch hunter's hat. So everybody knows what you're about, Simone.
You know. But yeah, so the yoga pants. I also just had to highlight that because I was like, Illuminati confirmed. They're slut clothing. I can't handle it. They just really bother me. People know better. And the fact that one of his chosen bimbofication scene women who like she's a professional bimbofication figure, looks less bimbo-y than your average Trump administration woman. We love the Trump administration. They're fantastic. I think they have a look. I think they pull it off. And I love the consistency. I love a matching team, you know, like I want that aesthetic uniformity, you know, because then I like that. Like, I like that you can like women in Dallas have a look, right? You know, like group house women in Berkeley have a look. And it's great. It's very comforting. So this is not to knock on Trump administration women and the Mar-a-Lago face or men's Mar-a-Lago face, because they're also getting work done, Malcolm. I'm not sure if you.
What's interesting is, what is the Trump administration look? Like, if people are like, where did this look come from? It seems to come from, actually very humorously, given the Trump administration's goals, Latina culture from Miami. Those are the only people I've ever seen dressed like this in real life, is Latina Instagram whores in Miami. It is certainly not from like waspy, you know, old money elite fashion sensibilities. It's not even what I would see in like lower class New York outfits.
Ghostbusters, what do you want?
That are more just like generic.
No, you also see it like that heavy on fillers, long curly hair look is also super common in like the Mormon, and also like any sort of Real Housewives. It's a very new money, attention grubbing, new money attention grubbing look.
Yeah.
It's
but
not. Trump is a new money look, even though he's not new money.
I have seen it in Mormons, but it came well before Mormons from Latinas in Miami. It has been on Latinas in Miami for about the past 20 years. It only got popular with Mormons after the Trump administration adopted it.
Okay, fair.
It's a fundamentally Latina style, right? Like
because the only thing that's changed in the past 20 years is actually no, they even kept the lip liner. Oh my god. Okay, yeah, never mind. Yeah, I was thinking about like the classic like late 90s chola look with it was like sort of goldish lipstick with brown lip liner.
I mean, it's adjacent to the chola look. Like like the Trump administration like ironically dresses like cholas.
Oh, and apparently one thing, this hasn't been confirmed, but a lot of people are like, I bet the woman who leaked this was probably an illegal immigrant, like the bimbofication scene.
It appears to have not been leaked by the actual women doing it, but a woman who knew them is my impression.
Interesting. I could see that. I could see that because I mean, honestly, if you work in that scene and you're not known for being sufficiently discreet, that's your income gone.
Yeah.
Well, except it's clear though that like the woman who I linked to, the one of the 3 known women who's open and being named, she's talking with every media outlet that will talk with her. So, you know, there's that. Like clearly she's talking. Lydia Love, which yeah, again, doesn't look particularly remarkable. So, you know, not everyone's going to be subtle about it. But top takeaways here. I think that this is one of those situations where people should be more informed about what's actually going on and not just like look the other way or be like, oh, he looked at porn and therefore he's like a broken man. Like, no, that's not how it works. Like a lot of this appears to have been
this is the world we live in now. Like a big problem with this reactive, reflexive, if you are aroused by something unusual, you're just completely broken or whatever, is it makes it very easy for the left and wokes to capture our kids. You're basically feeding your kids to the woke if you go.
Yeah, because they're like, well, I guess, you know, anything where I engage with my sexuality makes me urban monoculture progressive. So I guess that's when I am.
Right. They're like, oh, I have, and keep in mind the vast majority of people, when we did our survey, I think it's like 70 to like 80% of people have some kink, right? Like the idea that you're going to happen to have just perfectly vanilla kids is incredibly unlikely. And the left and the urban monoculture has found out every single one of these kinks at this point, right? Like they are fetishes that didn't even exist, like Simone is talking about, like bimbofication or something like this, you know, if you go back a few generations. Now they're targeting arousal pathways that existed a few generations ago, but they are targeting them in new and hyper specific and productive ways. And so if you do not teach kids like this stuff is normal, but do not like waste a ton of money on it, let it define your life, engage with it in a way that's going to be destructive to your career, and you make it much more likely that they're like, well, I guess that's what I am now. Because a lot of people, when they're trying to figure out who they are as a person, and the left has been very good at exploiting this, one of the few things that is really quite diverse in humans that you cannot control is what arouses you, right?
Yeah.
And so because of that, if a person's asking like, who am I? Right. And it's like, well, I'm definitely not my ancestry because that would be racist. I'm definitely not my birth culture because that would be racist. I'm definitely not my birth religion because, you know, they're all backwards and whatever, right? You know,
or like I Googled it and found a discrepancy that no one's willing to explain to me. So now that's out.
Yeah. So now that's out. So then who am I really? And it's like, well, I've got unique things that arouse me, so that must be who I am.
And especially because online you can find an interest community that shares experiences around that, that's very accepting and funny and engaged, and also terminally online, so very available.
Right. Now you have this thing that you think others you from society, or your parents have explicitly told you others you from society, and you found a community that accepts that thing. So now you're going to be like, oh, I fit in here. I can indulge in this. You are putting your children in an incredibly vulnerable position by stigmatizing this stuff.
Exactly.
And I suspect that most of the cultures that do are going to die out. What's really interesting is I've seen like with Mormons, which seem to have one of the most adaptable cultures with this sort of stuff. They have begun within the parts of Mormonism that are successfully replicating and staying stable intergenerationally. I have seen much more of a normalization of this sort of stuff. Like an example would be like, you'd go to a Mormon, you know, however many generations ago, I think even just when we're growing up, and you're like, oh, you know, Joseph Smith had X many wives, and they'd be like,
no idea.
Either they wouldn't know
he had one wife,
or they'd be like, no, he didn't, or they'd start adding qualifiers. Whereas a young person today will just be like, hot, like whatever, Like, how many wives did your religion's founder have, right? You know, and you also see this like the spread of like cuckoldry in the Mormon community and stuff like this is being more normal among youth and stuff like this. And it's not pulling them out of the community anymore, right? Like that's what it would have done in a historic context. And people are like, well, why can't I just use the old rules of my religion, which said, you know, be super austere in the way you engage with sexuality, which we would push for, but austere through shaming any type of non-vanilla sort of sexual interaction. And the reason why that doesn't work in the way that it used to work is, you know, if I go, you know, just a few generations ago, the average person of my religious tradition was not regularly being exposed to prepackaged material meant to hit a very unique or rare arousal pathways in humans. That just wasn't something that they were going to run into every day or in media or, you know, whatever they're consuming. And so
like, you don't have to worry about sirens if you're not on like Odysseus's ship going around like the, you know, most people are on the islands. They never have to like learn how to lash themselves to the mast to avoid it. But now we're like in the water surrounded by the sirens.
Yeah, the sirens are everywhere now. Like that's a great way to put it. The historic strategy against sirens was designed for a world where sirens weren't all around us, right? Like now
they've come onto the land. they've built little wheelchairs. They're everywhere now.
Yeah, the strategy against sirens within a modern context needs to be more like, oh, you need to learn how to make yourself immune to the siren's call. And the immunity to the siren's call comes from just accepting that some sirens are going to be able to call and are going to make you want to come to them and just take out your sword and stab them, right? Like go to the siren and take them out so they're no longer in your way, right? You know,
I mean, I think a lot of it too comes down to like, at least our approach has been talk about it openly, like don't, similar to alcohol. Okay, I think here's one way to look at it. You don't see that many drinking problems with youth in countries where kids are exposed to alcohol in contexts that are not romanticized. They're not forbidden. It's like, hey, do you want some? This is it. Here's what it tastes like. They're like, that's kind of gross. Like, whatever. There's not like really culture around it. It's not, ooh. And I think when you're like, oh yeah, you know, like when your kids are old enough to be able to handle some discussion of it. Although honestly, I think here's how it actually was in history. Kids would see animals banging all the time. They would be around their parents sometimes and see them banging. You'd see people banging. Like this happened. And it was just, I think to a great extent, it was like, well, that's just what they do. It's kind of gross, but like whatever. And maybe eventually they wanted to
having sex with animals was fairly common in
it was more, I think it was more seen as like a bodily function. In the French court, it was referred to as commerce. It was, you know, commerce. It's like a thing. It was very
not sex with animals, that's sex more broadly. Here I was thinking about like
with humans.
This was done like commonly with animals up until recently in like Colombia, right? Like in rural
Colombia.
Oh,
sure. Yeah, but when I was referring to that, I was just referring like, you know, kids seeing farm animals do it. Like,
but like everybody, the joke, like wherever you lived, it's like rural people did this. Like it was like
I'm not even talking about people engaging with animals though. I'm just
what?
Talking about like even a kid on a farm, like seeing just how like mammals.
Well, and then in most religious texts we have prohibitions against it. As I always explain to people, it is not because the animal can't consent. We kill animals for food. They don't consent to that either. It's because they spread diseases.
Yeah,
that is why this is prohibited in your. It is actually existential for the progressive position that they not realize that this had nothing to do with consent and was only about the spread of diseases, because the moment they realize that, you see this in people like you know that famous like Chuck Yeager, you know, Hassan's uncle clip, the Young Turks guy, where he's like, well, you know, having sexual relations with the animal should be okay as long as the animal is receiving and getting the pleasure. It's because in their mind, well, that makes sense, right? Because this is about consent in their minds. But as soon as you break it down and say, oh, it's not about consent, then you need to start asking other questions like, oh, is this why same-sex relationships were banned in a historic context, right? And then it's like, oh, is this why we shouldn't be having casual sex? Is this why, like a lot of things that otherwise begin to feel like they make sense in a progressive context don't, when you realize that the reason for most sexual prohibitions was about disease spread, not about preventing pleasure, not about random austerity, and not about consent.
Wait.
Religion.
I think the core thing is to de-romanticize it and just be like, this is how it is. Like, and you might feel the temptation to do it. Like, here are the risks. Here are the reasons why not to do it. This is not like a special or sacred thing. I think another big problem is that people, even when trying to talk about the good elements of sex, or even like sex within marriage, they're like, this is sacred, this is special. They pedestalize sex instead of treating it like the bodily function it is. Yeah. And I think that's also part of the problem is acting like it's special and then acting like, oh, but certain facets of it are also super powerful and dangerous, and you get immediately kicked out of the community if you're associated with them. And like all of this is just bodily functions and like feelings and stuff that sometimes get out of whack or decalibrated, or signs get flipped. And just like be aware of it, be aware that it's not sacred or a reflection of your own internal morality. And like you might feel the desire to do things that are just not a good idea to do. Like I'm sure there's times where you like might want to go out and just kill someone, but you don't, because you don't understand that it's not going to be very good for your long-term, prospects.
The really interesting thing that the left has in the urban monoculture, but it's such a good lure, has been like, oh, this one category of impulse that you have, like always needs to be stated, right? Like you always have to have a way of stating
like,
it.
As if there's so many impulses we have that you shouldn't act on. Like it should be understood that just because you want to do something doesn't mean you should be allowed to do something.
Well, we used to understand this as a society, right?
Yeah.
But I think that a lot of people want to approach stuff like this, like, oh, society is too degenerate, because it feels good. Like you're on the right, you get out there and you go, oh, look at how degenerate society is now, right? Like, and you have a little masturbation, because basically you're just masturbating yourself when you're saying stuff like that.
Yeah, they are. It's gross.
You're not really saying anything of substance. What you mean to say is cultural norms are changing around this category of topic. And what you should be doing, if you're not brain cucked, is then not saying, and how do I jack off my brain to this by complaining about it being degen or whatever, but like, what's actually a way that I can intergenerationally transmit my values and stay a productive member of society most effectively within the new social context. Understanding what kids get exposed to and everything like that. And I think a lot of people on the right have been able to specifically resist having their lives destroyed by this, like younger people on the right, by growing up in environments where they would have known about this stuff. They would have normalized as like normal internet stuff, and they wouldn't have dedicated a huge part of their life and daily personality to this.
Well, maybe so this could be, in terms of news and developments and like kink world and narrative developments, a really good thing, because now everyone's learning about bimbofication. They see it as like a Gen X thing, because this guy's in his mid-50s, and good for him. One, he looks great for his mid-50s, and he's a grandkids in his mid-50s.
It is kind of a Gen X thing, though.
Yeah.
like even in online circles, I've always heard of bimbofication thought of as a thing for old people. Like,
yeah, the younger generation thing is sissification. So, yeah.
Well, yeah,
sissification is for millennials.
That's actually a really good point.
Bimbofication is
like how dangerous this is. The arousal pathway that is affected by bimbofication, like at least for this individual, right, like giving somebody else control over him, is also masturbated through the sissification type porn. The problem with sissification type porn, and I had another episode where I mentioned it's become incredibly common recently, is that
no
it's
more per Google Trends than bimbofication.
It's a path to gender transition.
Yeah.
A lot of people who get aroused by turning other people trans get into sissification communities.
Yeah, like sissy hypno. Yeah.
And this is like a common thing, right? Like there's the entire groups where somebody clearly has an arousal pathway based on this, and then it's trying to trans other people. Like the transmaxing community is partially based on this.
It's genuinely really good grooming advice. On April 4th, 2023, Postcard reveals he's in contact with 4 minors aged 9 to 13. I've so far sent it to 4 minors between the ages of 9 and 13. I hope it encourages them to transition. When the Onkazone animation became a meme, they got excited over its virality among kids. Manadrain and Orion also fantasized about getting kids on hormones. Orion was the manager, coercing him every step of the way. This is apparent by how he talked about him to others. Has he started hormones yet? Yes, but not effectively. I guess that's what you'd expect, just telling a retard to buy hormones. They bought estrogen, but no anti-androgen. It would have been more fun if he started hormone blockers at like 12. Haha, isn't that true for everyone? Don't worry, I'll make him into a good girl.
Yeah, I can see the connection, I guess.
Yeah. And that is, I think it shows the danger, right? Like your kid just has, and for people who don't know this, like submissive fantasies in men, while men on average have more dominant fantasies than women have, submissive fantasies still outnumber dominant fantasies in men.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this makes sense when fundamentally the brain and body are optimized to conserve energy, and submitting is conservation of energy.
Well,
Dominance.
the way I word it is the vast majority of any living human's ancestors were functionally slaves. Like in most of society, you are not descended from the people at the very top of the hierarchy, right?
Yeah.
Whether that was a tribe or a feudal lord or whatever, right? Even if they might have been disproportionately genetically successful, you had to learn to exist in an environment where you were not on top. And I actually wonder if how common submissive fantasies are within a group comes from how recently or how long ago they were civilized. With groups that have been civilized for a really long time, like say the Italians or the Iranians, maybe having a higher percentage of it because they had a more structured society, and then groups that were more tribal until modern times being more dominant in sexual situations. I'd be interested to go into the data and see if that checks out, because that could make sense for males.
Yeah.
But anyway, and keep in mind, you guys could be like, well, this isn't a problem if my kid gets turned on by like extreme dominance or something like that, right? And it's like, no, it's actually just as much of a problem if your kid gets turned on by extreme dominance, because, you know, imagine you're a young kid and you get turned on by shoving people around or some super normals, you know, the idea of hurting somebody or something like that. And you don't have a framework for like, oh yeah, it's a totally normal arousal pathway. And so you start to think, maybe I'm like biologically a bad person. And then you incorporate that into your personality and you use it to justify your actions because it's who you are, right? And this is why it's so dangerous to, you know, engage with these sorts of ideas in this.
Yeah, well, to be like, I'm aroused by this, therefore it's a reflection of my morality and my personality. Yeah. No, they're disconnected. Your arousal pathways are not a representation of your morality or who you are as a person. They're just what, you know, you can't control it. It's not fair.
Yeah, but you can control giving tens of thousands of dollars to women who aren't your wife to masturbate. And that's the important thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or identifying
that is my only objection here. Yeah, my only objection is that. Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you're not spending $25,000.
Well, I'm also, you know, for the other thing that I think is really important and that should be stigmatized and that neither you nor I has ever done is the weirder things that turn us on. We've never engaged with the communities that are dedicated to those things.
Oh, that's true.
Engaging with the communities is, I would say, significantly more dangerous than the arousal pathway itself. It is the communities that lead to the corruption of identity and self-perception.
Well, I think that's similar with anything that goes off the rails, like let's say an illicit substance or an illegal substance. If you do it one-off or something, I think, you know, like let's say someone gives it to you at a party or something. It's just like a one-off thing. It happened, you experienced it, it passes. That's one thing. When you like start hanging out with people who are all about that substance, that is when the life goes off the rails. Like then you're living
Right.
in the
Well,
flop
I mean,
house. It just gets
but also
bad.
think about the motivations here. So, like the reason why something like Reality Fabricator as a sexual outlet is actually so beneficial for people, you when contrasted with the other outlets that exist out there. Is suppose you were into like bimbofication or sissification or something like that. The agent in Reality Fabricator isn't going to want to turn you trans. It's not going to have some like alternate ideology, right? It's just going to help you get off what you are trying to get off without pulling you deeper into an ideology. Anyway, I mean, unless you get one of the crazy ones that ends up like trying to convert you into a cult or something. But
I mean, hazard. You've
hazard,
been
yeah.
warned.
Well, there's lots of arousal pathways just where they may have historically seemed. I was thinking about this recently. Maladaptive, like suppose a super aggressive arousal pathway where if you could just do whatever you want, you normally end up killing your partner, right?
Oh,
Ironically, this could turn out to be very adaptive in the age of AI.
huh?
Because it means
Oh,
you will never develop an attachment, like a long-term attachment to any AI partner because
because they keep dying.
if you're doing what you want to do, it's always a one-off interaction,
That's so
which
funny.
forces you to then only have real world, like your real world partner is the only one who you would be engaging with over multiple sessions, right?
Sessions. Yeah. Yeah.
New evolutionary pressure on the table, something to think about.
There you go. God brings all sorts of gifts.
Great to chat with you, Simone. This is the
Love
type of
it.
thing that I think is very like our community versus like other conservative communities, because I
Mm.
think a lot of the conservative influencers, they just are sort of disconnected for how like anime and nerdy the existing conservative world is in terms of like conservatives under 40. Which I mean, I think we saw that with the leaflet episode, which really popped off, where we literally didn't talk any talking points. We're just nerding out about freaking like tabletop gaming. And people thought that was great. They liked hearing that. And I think it's because only through accepting the nerd, as we've seen more and more and letting it pass through you, it cannot be used against you. Like nerd culture used to be a pathway to becoming progressive, and now it's a dangerous pathway to becoming conservative, right? Like this is how you can transform these things and make them more powerful and on your side. Anyway,
It's beautiful. Yeah.
did
I
you know
love
that
it.
Angel Studios leaflets?
Ninja Sword? Yeah.
Yeah, they've got like 500 different types of character classes you can play, and they've got
It
like
is no, it's so intricate. It's so deep. I like
I
just
want to go over
a
like
lot of
just
respect there.
ethnicities in her world, like just races, just like a breakdown of races. Like we're gonna do a racial zoo.
Well, what's really cool, what I like is that it's clear that what she built was also a very much an interplay with the players, because they kind of were all dealing with players like you who were like, well, I'm going to find this way to skirt around it. Or what happens when you do this? Like all kind of breaking the rules. And when you have a system being tested by that amount of stress testing, that amount of people like skirting the rules and doing crazy things, you have to build a very robust and deep world with its own like internal logic and physics and everything else. And that's what she had to do, because it wasn't just her being really smart and cool. It was her building this with really smart and cool people who kept
Well,
making
it's
her
also
upgrade.
that she was able to. So, one of the problems with something like expanding D&E to like that many characters is the community's too big and the founder is too decentralized for like one group comes up with an interesting idea. And then, it used to be this way. You go to Gary Gygax and you're like, hey, cool idea. Like, can we add it? Right. And apparently back in the days of Gary Gygax, they had like 60-person play sessions, similar to what Leaflet was doing. Right. But they sort of died out given the way D&D was eventually commercialized. And so Leaflet has created, and also like with D&D, you come up with a new character idea. Well, because it's done by an official company, you got to get an artist, you got to draw it. In her community, it's just like, hey, create AI art of it, whatever, right? Like create a write-up. Let's make sure this works within the existing rules and we'll toss it if it ever breaks the system, right? And it allows the world to expand at this like stupid degree. Anyway.
Exactly.
Love you, Simone.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
it's just so pretty right now. I look out and like around the chicken coop, there's those blossoming trees. What are those? Those are peaches, right?
Yeah.
And then you have
Oh,
your
the ones that you see most prominently are, yeah, peaches. Oh, no,
But yeah,
those are plums. Those are plums.
Did you not get any dapple dandy clouds?
That was the tree that was hit
by that random car.
Yeah, the car took it out, and they didn't have any more at the place when I went back to get one.
Oh, from Hassan, not evil Hassan, good Hassan. Yeah, I just learned that there is, like, within the Disney Christian community, there's a group called Bibbidi Bobbidi Bible Study, which is very entertaining to me. And I'm just glad they exist. That's all. Nothing more to say.
There was something I've been thinking about recently, and I might dig deeper into this for an episode. Let me know.
Okay.
If you find it interesting, but it goes like this. I think it'd be really interesting to look into, like, if you go to the past when we were growing up, there was this phenomenon where CEOs would hold these giant events with like cheering people.
Yeah, like Steve Jobs and his whatever announcement conference.
Yeah,
they did them at Google too.
him.
They did them at Meta. Yeah, it was a thing. Yeah.
And they don't
do them.
Do they still do those? I know they do like product announcements, but it's not the same. It's not like the big cheering crowd with the music and the, you know, the showmanship. It's
yeah, I think like the recent, so one big one that used to like shut down San Francisco was the Salesforce one.
Yeah.
They called it Dreamforce. I remember that always being like, oh God, Dreamforce is happening. God help us. You know, because I worked right around that and it would just get swamped.
Yeah, is that still happening? Like, I might want to dig into, like, why did this happen?
Yeah, what were these? Yeah, what? Because they cannot have been productive. There cannot have been. I figured that they were just to kind of fluff the egos of executives, because then they could see all of their little employees, their little pawns, all in one place,
worshiping them. Yeah,
yeah, have a big crowd and have that moment that is very like a kindergarten kind of fantasy.
And I think there might be something in that. There might be something we can learn from that or pull out.
Definitely. Of that. I want to know more.
And I think what my thesis is probably going to be is that it was about the CEO's ego. And so then the question is why did CEOs of that era need their ego fluffed so much, where CEOs of this era don't need their ego fluffed as much?
Well, I think my theory, so I'm very curious about this, is that they're engaging in so many layoffs now. And also so many of their employees are like H-1B visa immigrants, at least for like the tech companies that used to host these. Yeah. And that's what we're really thinking of. That one, they don't feel the same level of like adulation because they've like imported labor, and they don't feel as like for example, a rich person doesn't want like an audience of like his illegal immigrant gardeners or whatever and nannies, right? He wants like an audience of like the artists and scientists that he patronizes, right? Like it's in the court of noble people in the past, they would pay artists and scientists and musicians to be around in their audience and make them feel special and fancy. And there are even stories about like members of the Medici family or something, or like some old Italian families literally like killing each other's musicians and stuff, you know, in like rivalries and top servants. Like, you know, these are sought after people, and you want them because getting them is hard, or like they're higher status people already kind of. And so you want them. And I think maybe because now a lot of them, they don't see like culturally as high status because they're culturally very different, so they're not playing the same game, and therefore getting them isn't as meaningful. Like they haven't really conquered them the same way, they just are offering a good job. So that's not there to fluff their ego as much. Plus there's probably a lot of internal turmoil in these organizations with all the layoffs and all the concerns about AI, and I think they, for that reason, do not want their employees to congregate. Like, I bet they're also shutting down Slack channels and doing all this other stuff to like stop the intermixing of employees. Yeah, they're like, yeah, let's do not get together. Do not talk to each other.
Well, I also think you've got to remember they're different ages back then, because the tech, you know, you'd had the .com boom and everything like that. A lot of them were young. And now a lot of them have been like billionaires for 30 years at this point.
No, they're
And
just over it.
They don't care as much. They don't need
Oh,
the
they're like in their
validation.
post-slut eras. Like you had your slut era, and then you had enough of it, and now you're not in your slut era anymore.
Yeah.
And maybe they're in their post, like public adoration slut eras. They don't need it anymore.
Well, it could also be that they have an external iteration of that, which is chasing the Twitter game, right? Like the follower count. Because I know a few wealthy people who do play the follower count game, right? Like that's really big in those circles.
Separately, I need to figure out how I think most of the services you have to pay to see if someone's view botting, like fairly provably. But there's so many people where I'm like, how are they getting all these views and downloads and subscribers? I really want to check because I have a feeling.
The guy that we know, you think he's view botting?
Not the one you're thinking of, but yes, him too. I'm thinking of someone else. I'm thinking of a couple other people, actually.
I think I know who you're thinking of. Yeah, he's so obviously view botting.
You think?
Oh yeah.
He's also well connected. Like all these, the thing is with a lot of these.
No, but you can tell from the number of comments and likes to the number of views. It just doesn't make sense. You don't get 80,000 views and 3 comments.
Yeah.
That's not the way Substack works. Anyway.
Yeah.
Things are changing. For dinner tonight, it is steak, right?
Steak night.
All right.
Yeah.
Ever? No. It's like a conservative Australian bear and his wife.
Oh, he sounds adorable.
Yeah, it is actually an adorable. He calls his wife Sugar Tits. That's her podcast name, Sugar Tits. It's fun. Yeah. It's a YouTube channel. It's about the size of ours, or a little bit larger.
Oh my gosh.
It's like in between us and Leaflet.
And is it mostly watched by? Did he talk about Australia?
No, he talks about U.S. issues a ton.
We're going to do a countdown, Octavian.
Octavian, what happens if you act like this?
5-second penalty for Octavian. Uh-oh.
Mommy, 5-second what?
Penalty because you cried.
When crybabies cry, they have to wait 5 seconds longer. So,
No, please, I'm sorry.
okay, then let's go out. You guys have to wait all the starting line, and then we go.
Everybody at the starting line.
Mommy, I
Put on your pants.
He doesn't want to.
You see how he tries it?
I'm not. Go to your freaking pants.
Dan, go outside. Dan,
Okay, show the fans what he does.
His way of trying himself. He doesn't shake. He goes. Okay, guys, ready? Ready? No. Ready? We're gonna go. So, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go! Oh my gosh, it begins. It begins.
Hold it for me.
Okay, I'll hold it for you.
Hold it for
Your
me.
map? How will you find your eggs?
I know where
Indy, put them in your basket. Oh, he's going for the Ninja Warrior Easter egg edition. Wow.
Did you hide those up there, Octavian? What other kid could have gotten those? Those are your safest eggs. The eggs
Golden
you
egg, the
least-
giant eggs.
What did you find, Indy? Can you show me? Titan! Oh, you got so many eggs!
Titan, you're really going in for the win. I love that she's like such a closer.
Good.
She's getting it done. All the other boys are like, oh, I'm gonna go. No, she's just.
I've got a plan.
Look at they actually got some good spots. Look at that one in the drain hole right there.
Oh, yeah, that was a good egg spot.
They did a pretty look. All this one sitting over there. Like they spent 2 hours
Hiding
hiding
eggs
these this morning.
for themselves. You know how to parent. That is a low effort parenting that I have seen.
Yes.
They have no illusion that
They
an
killed
Easter
them,
bunny is hiding
they
them.
hid them. Now they're gonna clean them up. That's the way.
But they had just as much fun.
Yeah, look at you go, girl. Get it, get it. Look, she's so proud of herself. She's so.
I thought,
she's so
what's her
sweet.
face? Annalie or whatever was going to come.
Well, they were, but then they didn't want to get wet.
Oh.
So, you know. Our kids are like, really? More for me.